All right, welcome, folks. I am here with good friend and fellow entrepreneur mindset coach. I think we've figured out for both of us,
Sure.
Rusty Osborne. We have had Rusty is a good friend. Rusty is a former coach. He has sold for me. He has sold to me, all of the things. And we've had so many good conversations between one another that we decided we had to hit record on one of these and share them with the world. So this is us hitting record, sharing with the world one of our crazy conversations that could go anywhere, but I think we'll try and keep it under control. Welcome, Rusty.
Thank you, Gavin. I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, super excited to just dive in. Let's start with where we first met, which was I was in a business coaching group, high impact coaching, and this crazy guy jumped in with a huge beard. And it was the middle of COVID. So we were having an online mastermind meetup, and you started singing in one of the breaks, former musician. But I think this is where we first connected. We were both trying to build a business. You were trying to build a fitness business for musicians. I was trying to build a business coaching business for personal trainers. And there's a lot of parallels, but talk to me because I know there were a lot of challenges there, kind of like
Mhm.
looking back on it now in hindsight and what you've learned about that time.
Yeah, definitely. Eh, we all start a business, or I mean, at least coaches. We all think we have this amazing thing. People need our help. Let's go help them. And
Yeah.
so I was super thrilled to go help musicians like I was, who are obese, like I was, or alcoholic, or all those problems that I had solved. I was like, let's dive in on that. So I was super passionate. I was willing to do whatever I could to get this business up and running to the point where not only am I helping a ton of people, but also easily sustains me and my wife, right? Um, and it sounded so easy because that's what everybody's marketing does. They're like, "Oh, you're just going to come into our program and whoop, business done." And we even saw some people in that mastermind who seemed like they almost had those results. Like they just
Yeah.
walked in, suddenly had tens of thousands of dollars printing, and I worked my tail off on that business,
Yeah.
7 days a week, 10 hours a day for so long. And it just never, ever really got traction. We changed a bunch of lives. Some people lost hundreds of pounds, kept them off. Amazing, amazing stuff. But if it can't sustain us, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So getting to like what actually happened. So
Because like I just want
yeah,
to touch on that for one
yeah,
second,
yeah,
right? Like I think there's a lot of coaches and people who listen to YouTube videos like this,
yeah.
who kind of maybe feel that way, right? And so I think what's really powerful, though, that I wanted to just throw in is like, I think we both realized that we had to experience something like that to be where we
Hmm.
are now. And I,
Yes.
I don't think enough people put enough value in having to trudge through some shit.
Hmm.
I think you talk about the people who seemingly just walked in and were printing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know if we recognize that they were on they had already passed that chapter,
Yeah.
right? And we were just coming into that chapter, not realizing that there was, for lack of a better way of putting it, we had to eat some shit.
Hmm.
And maybe if we had known better, we would have eaten the shit quicker. But, you know, I think that is, it's almost a rite of passage in both
Yeah.
of us having worked with lots of entrepreneurs that everybody's been there.
Seriously. Yeah.
Right?
And there's people that I had actually become clients of mine that we had met there,
Yeah.
who had such an easy time when that business started, and their businesses started to suffer just last year. So they had a great few years, and then they had to eat shit. Right. And
Yeah.
like what caused that? Where did that come from? Why is this now happening? And I think it's just a great highlight. Like, thanks for bringing that up. We every business and almost every endeavor in life is kind of like a shit sandwich. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's something in there that's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what kind of shit do you want in your sandwich? Almost, like what version of it do you want to have?
Yeah.
Um,
Which ties in nicely to the mindset work you do, which we're going to talk about, right?
yeah.
Like finding the shit in the sandwich. But yeah, so
Mhm.
now looking back, because I know we've had chats about this.
Mhm.
Looking back, in hindsight, what was the problem there? Like what was the reason you feel, I mean, we know, we could talk about this, but I think it's not what we want to talk about, is like there wasn't a great product market fit. You could
Mhm.
talk to that a little bit. You were trying to sell to broke people. But
Yeah.
like in reality, when we look at the kind of like the woo woo or the mindset or the energetic reasons why you feel maybe this didn't work as well as it possibly could have.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that, and even like, something I always tend to see is how is the tactical side related to the energetics too.
Yeah,
So upon,
totally.
like the postmortem that I did showed like, oh, product market fit, garbage. Like the musicians that I was wanting to work with, if they had money, which a third of them just did not have the money. They wanted to work with me, but they're like, here's a screenshot of the $6 in my bank account, like
Yeah.
verify. The money doesn't exist. And I felt so bad. I didn't have an accessible option for them. Um, so that product market fit wasn't there. So tactically, I know that whatever business I start, I'm looking hard at product market fit now because it has to matter. The
Yeah.
thing that kept me from the success, though, on the energetic side was I was afraid to think for myself
Mm.
because everyone around me said, Rusty, you're doing the right thing. You're 6 inches from the goal. Just keep digging. And God, man, there's only so much digging you can do. Like it hurts. It hurts, man. Like at what point do you call it a failure? And I went way past the point that most people would have and just kept on trudging because, man, like I've got grit. I've got discipline. I can use it when I need it. But I didn't think for myself or trust myself to say, hey, look, this isn't working. Let's try a new market. Let's try a new
Yeah.
service. Let's try a new something new. Instead of that, I was just like, nope, this is the only way it's going to work. This is the only way it can work. This is the only people it'll work for. I put blinders on, which is great
Yeah.
for focus and terrible for making a pivot. So I was afraid to trust myself because I only trusted the people who were giving me advice.
Yeah. I think one of the issues that I was able to overcome at that time that gave me some more, or some, like, I guess we could call it faster success than you, was that I did start putting my own flair on things, right? I'd take the information they like, and I fell into the same trap too. And then I was like, this isn't working for me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this is not working for me. So I took some things and reworked them a little bit to work for me in the way that I wanted to. And I think that's one thing I want to encourage a lot of people, that I know you do too. You encourage a lot of people to do, is like always be asking questions. Like if something's not working well, which we can clearly say that for Rusty at that time, it was not working well, you got to be asking questions, because if
Yeah.
you're not getting curious and going, like, instead of like, oh, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Right? Just shifting that
Mm-hmm.
emphasis to something that's actually going to help solve a problem. And
Right.
Rusty wasn't doing this. He was just banging his head against the wall repeatedly because it's being told to do. Right? Asking those questions is going to give us better answers. Like Rusty said, maybe he takes the same thing and markets it to a slightly different audience, that he still has some clout in that audience, but it's not a broke audience. Or maybe he takes this service and he changes the way that the pricing structure is to allow some of these people to get in, get started, get excited, maybe even because they're more confident, make more money, and then start to be able to pay him a little bit more, right? There's so many different ways that this could have gone, but because you kept pounding a square peg into a round hole, it just kept not working. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Which, coming back to the manifestation woo woo energetic side of things, like I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled that that's what happened. Because to quote the great Rolling Stones, we don't always get what we want, but we get what we need.
It needed
Right?
to
I do think
happen.
the Beatles were better than the Stones, but like that quote is gold. So like
Yeah.
this is I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get that massive financial abundance. I didn't have a million people using my service. Like I didn't get any of that. But what I did get was mandatory.
Yeah.
I got the course correction to go get a sales position, to learn how a $4 million coaching business is run, like all
Yep.
those different pieces. And the other things like learning how to do mindset work properly, learning what I need to focus on to actually make these shifts. I wouldn't have had any of that. I would have just been some loud dude yelling at you on Instagram still about how you need to eat more broccoli and less Snickers. Like what else, that is
Yeah.
not who I authentically am. So by getting pounded in the face by the universe with a 2x4 saying like, you will not succeed this way, it forced me to level up in a new way that is transforming so many more lives so much more quickly.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It's this delicate balance between constantly asking questions and trying to figure out why things aren't working and moving forward, and recognizing something you touched on there that maybe you didn't mean to touch on, recognizing that you're always going to get exactly what you need in the exact right timing. Because I
Always.
think we can both agree, while we both wanted to make $1 million at that time in our lives, I know for me, I won't speak for you, but I think I know what the answer is. I know for me, if I had gotten to the place that I wanted to get in that time, it would have been a freaking disaster. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to, I would have been so overwhelmed. I had no systems in place. I also I had no idea how to manage money. Like there were so many red flags that clearly the universe saw, that the universe always sees, that I did not see. Right. And I think the same can be said for you.
100%. Like I was over hiring at a, for this tiny business, like, well,
Yeah.
I guess, well, I need systems and I need team if I'm going to get this thing up and running. So like, I've got, my army of VAs plus my assistant slash wife who did so much work for, like, it was amazing what we had. And it felt so cool to have like the feeling of this is a real business.
Yeah.
But obviously that wasn't it if the money wasn't flowing.
Right. Cash flow makes a
It
real
matters.
business.
It's oxygen, like this business suffocated to death.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's, I think that's really good. What we're kind of touching on these things that people may be feeling. What else do you feel now? What you're doing is similar to what I'm doing, is you're taking entrepreneurs, business owners, even some founders, and you're getting into their brain and doing some, doing some real, getting under the hood and doing the work, right? What
Yeah,
are the patterns that you're seeing beyond what we experienced that tends to hold people back from the success they want?
for sure. Um, it's really interesting. They all boil down to a couple tiny pieces, but most people don't know what those pieces are until they've done really deep digging on it. And so
Mhm.
if you're listening to this, the things that'll cue you into that there is something under the surface that needs to be resolved is, do you have a loud inner critic? That little voice that's saying you suck, you're not good enough, you're doing it wrong, they know better than you, why should anybody pay me? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you've got that, if you're procrastinating or avoiding on things, imposter syndrome, if that's showing up, if you've ever burned out, which have I done, like
Multiple times.
over and over, and sometimes burnouts within burnouts, it's great. Those or any self-sabotage, man, if you can find some self-sabotage, or if your business is hitting a revenue ceiling, like there is
Yeah.
tactical places in your business that you can find that are actually symptoms of deeper inner issues.
Yeah. I think everybody listening, one of those things will have hit them. If it didn't, like, stop listening to this now. If none of those things resonated with you, just stop listening to this episode. You don't need this. Go and in fact, if you are listening to this episode, then you probably are self-sabotaging somewhere and wasting time. So it's kind of all circular anyway.
But
So
at least it's a productive procrastination,
yeah,
right? Like,
productive procrastination. That's right. Um, so what do you feel are the big rocks that all of these, okay, so I'm sitting
mhm,
here and I'm noticing one or two or all of these things, as some
yeah.
people might be. What are the big rocks these tend to boil down to? Like if we could accelerate some of the work for someone that's watching this,
Mhm.
what's a couple of the big rocks to start to dig in on?
Yeah. The first one, this is not sexy at all. You've probably heard it before, or if you did, you ignored it. I've been trying to find a good sexy way to market this thing, but at the end of the day, it's you've got shit in your past.
Mm.
Like, you've got some traumas. Maybe they're like big, heavy traumas, capital T traumas. I work with a lot of clients that have a lot of that, and we can move needles on that. But maybe it's, lowercase traumas. Timmy in third grade called you fat.
Yep.
Like,
That's
or for
me.
me, my
Yeah.
brother for my whole life just said, or as we were kids, you suck. He's older than me. He's better than me at everything. If I'm 3 and he's 5, like,
Yeah.
objectively, he's better. It's fine. But when he kept saying, you suck, you suck, you suck, that just built up. So why would I ever trust myself? Why would I want to do anything on my own? Because I suck. So I have to listen to every coach.
Yeah.
I can't just build a business without a coach, because or without a course that I'm going through, because I don't know enough and I suck.
And then
Right.
to your point earlier, you also can't deviate from the path and actually just make your own
Yeah.
mind up on something because you suck. You're not smart enough. They know better than you.
Right. Right. And so if you're noticing any of these things, you just get to ask, cool, where'd it come from?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite questions is, instead of why do I do this? You can throw out the word why almost every time you're asking yourself something, because the word why, it feels worse to your unconscious mind.
Yeah.
You can ask, what's causing this? Or my favorite is, when did I decide to do this? When did I choose this? When did I decide that this is what I wanted to do? When did I decide to burn out? When did I decide to throw my back out? When did I decide to just completely avoid having a business succeed?
Yeah.
So,
I love when just to go back to like the capital T versus small T trauma type thing. I heard her name's Vienna Farion or something. I can't even pronounce her last name. She was on the Modern Wisdom podcast, and she talks about, she has reframed it from trauma to wounds,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because people like me and you, it sounds like, when someone says trauma,
Yeah.
I'm exiting stage right, because I'm a
Gone.
I'm a straight white dude from Canada. Like, I'm good, like I
Yeah.
never
Excuse
had,
me. I need to go buy another 6-pack of Molson's. Like, let's
yeah,
get
like
past this.
my biggest problem when I was 18 was, where am I going to get my next beers? Right. And how am I
Mhm.
going to afford them? So, but when we talk about wounds, this makes sense, right? So, I scrape my knee, I cover it up, the scab starts to kind of like form, but if I hit my knee again, it'll bleed and it'll hurt,
Mhm.
right? So, I was made fun of and left out in 7th grade from the cool kids group. And if I say that I'm doing this mindset thing and someone makes a comment about how that's weird, I'm triggered into feeling like I'm being left out from my friend group or from my family group.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's all this, like, this shit in your past. And one other way that I like to frame, this, like, when did you decide, is like, what are you making this mean? What have you made this mean
Mhm.
about yourself, your past? And like, where are you just like slotting that into a story that just isn't serving you anymore? Because these stories aren't serving you anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I take when did you decide this? Because you're deciding on a story that's closing this loop of thought, this thought loop. And that story's not even, like, it's not serving you, and it's often not true.
Right. If I had decided, so as a child, I decided to believe that I suck because I heard it enough times, I guess, or whatever. Like, whatever happened, I still decided that I believe that I suck.
Yeah.
If I had in that moment said, like, no, I don't, I'm gonna kick your ass, Jeff. Like, that's a different story that I could have told,
Yeah.
that could have led me in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was making it mean that, oh, whatever he says is true, so I must suck. So we
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to see, what are we making it mean, and then say, like, cool, like, what do I want it to mean?
Yeah. You get to make the decision in any moment. If you didn't make if you didn't make the decision when you were 5 years old and your brother said you suck, you can make the decision now. right? You
Yeah.
get to make the decision now to just change that story, right? Because right now your 5-year-old is driving the bus of your success and it's not going as well as you want it to, right? So take the 5-year-old, respect that he's there and that he was hurt in that moment, put him in the back seat, say you can chill over there and I'm going to drive, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm going to make a different decision.
Right.
One other thing that I feel comes from the past, and you can let me know if you feel differently, because this is what I love about these conversations. Overarching believe the same things, but somehow sometimes have different ways of getting there. I feel like the
Yeah.
inner critic, you mentioned the inner critic earlier and this, what it leads to imposter syndrome and all this stuff. I feel like this often comes from the past. And there's you had some great quotes on the inner critic that I want to share in a bit. Um, why I've asked this question a number of times on group calls and people just laugh because it's so obvious. Like, we know it doesn't work. Why are we continuing to criticize ourselves all the time and just beat the shit out of ourselves?
Hmm. Yeah. It's so funny, right? We do that so much. And I think that I would actually disagree with you on the idea of it doesn't work. I would say it parts of it have worked. When I decided that
Clearly. Yeah.
when I was like obese, right? I was like, well, what do skinny people do? I want to be like them. Oh, they're always on the beach running. I'm gonna
Right.
go for a run. And so I started running, and then when I got tired, I was like, quit being a little bitch and run more.
Right.
That got me results. I lost a lot of weight. Like I made a massive transformation.
Yeah.
Like to lose 85 pounds and keep it off is massive. And my inner critic did a lot of the heavy lifting there.
Mhm.
He said, no, I don't care how hungover you are. You get up and you run, bitch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and so because it gave me results, it still had use. And so I think that we all have somewhere that we were depressed or down low or even being bullied or something. And the inner critic said, I'm fucking tired of this
Yeah.
and I'm going to do something. And so it had a use and it may have a use again in the future, but it's probably holding you back now. So do you have that
Or
quote that I
even
wrote?
there's even, yeah, I do. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to dive into that. There's even like,
Yeah.
it may be holding you back, but also like, it's just like, it's not working as well anymore. And like that
Yes.
is such a simple, it's just like, how's it working for you? And like,
Yeah.
not even saying it to try and be funny or be a dick, like just like, how's it working for you? And if it's not working as well as it was before, like if you're not seeing the weight drop off as you did, or you're not seeing
Mhm.
the cash flow go up, then it's clearly not working that well. And this is,
Yeah.
Rusty's quote from an email. He said, your inner critic is like asking the Hulk to help you solve problems. He kind of just destroys a lot of stuff while he's trying to help, right?
Yeah.
He does a lot of damage. So
Yeah.
so
Like he does solve problems, but oof, that hurts.
yeah, exactly. I like to talk about the like kind of like the negative emotions and like you said, the inner critic and the like, hey, just get up and run, bitch. Like that type of thing is actually a really good, I call it like a fire starter. Like it's like the kindling and the tinder and the paper and sometimes the gas and the lighter that you use to light the fire. But as we know, anyone who's ever had a campfire knows that stuff burns quick and then it burns out. And then we need to
Mhm.
add bigger logs. We need to add, this is where we need to shift maybe into more grace or more purpose driven or mission driven work and that kind of stuff, because that stuff, while it is a useful tool, again, if it's not working for you anymore or not working as well, we need to change the tool,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
one this is kind of now we're diving into. So okay, I've been using my inner critic for so long. I've been just like beating the crap out of myself with negative self-talk. What do you suggest I do different?
Mhm. The first thing is what to not do. The first thing to not do, which is the first thing everybody does, is like, cool, I just need a new thought. I'm just going to think that thought.
Right.
Because guess what? You're going to fail at it. And then your inner critic's going to be like, look, you idiot, you failed. Come back to me. I'm going to work better for you. Right? I
Yeah.
just need to be more disciplined. I just need to book more sales calls. I just need to make more sales. If you hear yourself use the word just, big red flag.
What's the other
Immediately.
one? I really like this one on the fat loss front, right? I just need to remove the chips from my house, right? Which is like, and then whenever we say this, you know, we're praying to whatever God we believe in that we can just continue doing that thing because we just like pulled this out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a very sustainable approach.
It's not. It's not. I just need to, if you ever hear that word just or feel that energy, like huge red flag. Cause yeah, well, like who are we trusting in that situation? You're trusting the version of you that has never succeeded in this way
Right.
to try and do it again. So you need to be a different person in order to get a different result.
Yes.
So then what the heck do we do? Well, first of all, stop trying so damn hard and just like take a breath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to effort, force, and manipulate the world to fit into your view of things. Like we can let this be easier if you sit with it and say, cool. Mr. Inner Critic, I hear you being really loud. What are you trying to tell me?
Mm.
If you just literally take that pause, just like, hey, just okay, I hear you. I want you to just tell me everything you're thinking right now, Mr. Inner Critic. And you can sit there down and write it in a journal, write it in notes app, just let the conversation play out in your mind, but really listen. He's going to be really mean for a little bit because he's got a lot to get off his chest because you keep telling him to go away. Don't talk to me. You know, you're trying to shove him down. So first
Yes.
he's going to vent all this stuff, but then he's going to say, I'm just trying to help.
Yes.
Oh, is that? Oh, you're just trying to help. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for helping me. Like we've done some great work together.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really hurts the way you help me. Like, would you be cool with trying to help me in a different way? Like, is there some other way that we could be more productive together? Because I know you want me to make a bunch of money. I want me to make a bunch of money. Like, we want to make a difference and be successful, but I don't
Yeah.
want to hurt so bad. Like, what do you think? And in asking these questions and being curious, like we talked about earlier, getting curious, whatever puzzles we're facing, then we can let these answers just flow through. And suddenly it's like, oh, well, what if I get critical of like potential threats to my business? Great idea. You know, we can look at potential threats and see what might come up. What if the inner critic can get critical of things that waste your time, so you get ultra focused on the things that move the needle in your business? What if that inner critic had a useful purpose? He doesn't even have to change who he is as an inner critic. He just has a better focus.
Yeah.
Right? The ego is the enemy is something, you know, we've heard a bunch. What if your ego was your ally?
Yeah. What if this is
What
where
if?
I really love Rusty's take on mindset work and all of this stuff because it is the opposite of a lot of what we've been you know the folks like me or even the I would say like I had this YouTube video you know the dumb shit that business coaches say about mindset, the bullshit that business coaches say about mindset, right? Hey, you just need to be more confident. You got to just get more confident out there, or you just got to make sure you regulate your emotions. How the fuck do I do that? What are you talking about? I
Right.
don't understand what you're saying. And then they just move on to the next thing. And you're like, did you just seriously? And most people just take it and they nod, like, yeah, yeah, for sure. Totally understand. Right. They just nod at it. But this is where I really like Rusty's take. So we're kind of like taking a moment. One of the things that I like in this too is almost removing yourself, becoming the objective observer of yourself. Instead of being in this swirl of emotion and frustration and just like letting the inner critic beat you up, you go, that's interesting that I just beat the shit out of myself about that thing. Maybe I just zoom out a little bit and look at this from a more objective point of view. Let's see what this inner critic is trying to tell me. Now,
Mhm.
this is where I really like your, you know, we'll call it off the wall take, which is like you actually encourage people to lean into the negative thoughts, lean into the negative feelings. Don't try and sweep them under the rug and just become more positive, just get into the vortex, just get to a better place. You actually say, let's, like we talked about off the hop here, let's find the shit in the shit sandwich and let's work through it. Yeah. Like take me through that difference of opinion, we'll call it.
For sure. And this is based specifically in like psychology principles that have been around for 100 years, and in neuroplasticity, energetics. It's in a lot of these practices, but instead of diving into the science, we let that movie The Secret try and run our lives and just like get in the vortex, just think about it and pray and it'll show up. Like I like
Kumbaya.
feeling good.
Just sit there and kumbaya all day. It'll be good.
Yeah. Including, this is going to trigger some people. Like, your gratitude practice is not making you money. Like, that is not the thing that moves your needle in life. It
Love
is
it.
helpful to feel good. I love feeling good. So I do practice gratitude. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that that is not the 80-20 of how you're going to make your mindset level up to the place that you can just attract all this money.
Mhm.
It's not how it works. What does move the needle is what's going on in your unconscious or subconscious mind. So, for a quick piece of education, if people aren't crystal clear on this, you could think of, let's say you've got a supercomputer and you have access to 2% of that computer, but not the other 98%, because that's like the AI component, but you have enough access to like do some arithmetic.
Yeah.
Right. You've got the calculator and the rest of the computer can do so much. That's your conscious brain, is like that little calculator. You've got like 2% control over what's going on in your brain, your body, your nervous system, which means that 98% is available to you at the unconscious level. The challenge here is that your inner critic, all these traumas and things, are stored below the conscious level. And your conscious mind, which you're trying to use to force your way through a business, you're saying, don't tell me about what happened to me when I was a kid. No, don't talk to me, inner critic. Don't do that. And you're shoving it back down into that unconscious area for it to cause problems. What we resist persists. Everybody, please write that down. What we resist persists. This is critical. So if you're resisting it, it will continue. One of my clients runs a sleep dentist practice, and he is the A student for Think and Grow Rich. Best I've ever met. He reads the things. He does the self-confidence formula that's in there. He does everything that he talks about, visualizing it, reading it multiple times a day. I've got my plan. I do the things, and his business wasn't working. So we shifted the approach, said, cool, where's your shit? Like, bring it all up to the surface. And suddenly, you know what happens? Well, he doesn't make money immediately because that's fake. What we have is ideas and opportunities show up for us to make money from.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly we're like, oh, your approach for going in and trying to get referrals for your business is awful. So instead, we now have a new creative solution that just suddenly dropped into our brain from who knows where, of walking into the referral place of another office that he goes into. Hey, I'm here to grab your list of clients who need my services now.
Right.
So we went in and asked that, and they're like, oh, we don't have that list. Let me put one together for you. Oh, like, it's simple. We have these opportunities, these ideas, all these things are circling around, but your shit is keeping you from seeing it.
Yes.
So if we focus on the negative and willingly bring it all up, every bit of your insecurities, your judgments, your problems, the stuff you're not looking at in your business, the whole thing where you're not keeping track of your income well, like or your numbers, all that stuff that you're ignoring, bring it right up to the surface. You're going to feel god awful, and we can process it, find a solution, and move forward. Yeah. You're smart. You've got a ton of drive. That's why you started a business. But all this shit is weighing you down like a 100-pound backpack while you're trying to climb a mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm reminded as well to just touch on the idea of the reticular activating system as well. So the way I like to talk about the reticular activating system is it's the system that tells your conscious brain what to focus on. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we have all these solutions, they're there, like you said, somehow you magically figure out this new referral system, right? But it's
Yeah.
always been there. You just, because of all the shit that you weren't willing to look at, this client per se couldn't see it because they
Hmm.
weren't allowing themselves to see it, right? When
Hmm.
we, like, if I say right now, how does your left big toe feel? Everyone watching this goes, oh shit, yeah, my left big toe, it's feeling okay. But you weren't thinking about that before because you didn't have the capacity to think about that before because there's so much coming at you all the time. So our reticular activating system goes, no, we're just going to shut all this stuff out. The problem with the reticular activating system is it aligns with what your subconscious is telling it, the beliefs, the
Hmm.
stories, the identity of who you are. If you feel you're someone who's always late, you will always find a way to be fucking late
Yeah.
because your reticular activating system will make sure of it. You will forget your water bottle or you will forget your keys or whatever. And then all of a sudden, fuck, I'm late again. Right.
Yeah.
This is that concept. Right. And so if
Hmm.
we allow the negative thoughts and feelings to come through, we work with them instead of trying to push against them. We open up the space for something like the reticular activating system to go, oh yeah, here's this thing that's been there the whole time. Here's this thing that's been there the whole time. Here's this thing that's been there. And you're like, wow, I've got all these great ideas. Yeah, because you just allowed yourself the space to see them, to understand them, to kind of let them settle. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it. Like we allow the space, or I think of it almost like, let's say I'm at point A and my goal is at point B, which is or let me shift that. I'm here and there's a solution across the street from me,
Yeah.
but there's a big pile of fog in the middle that's keeping me from seeing that solution. That fog is your emotions and your beliefs. So if you try and push down fog, it's fog. You can't push fog.
Right.
Like it's still there. You're going to wander around and maybe bump into that solution. But we can take about 5 to 10 minutes and do an emotional process to let that fog suddenly go away. Sun comes out and you're like, oh, there's my solution.
Yeah.
Happens in moments. We can run a business so much faster, learn faster, iterate faster, help people more by focusing on these negative emotions and that fog, see what it's trying to teach us and move it through.
And I think I just want to say this to all the people who maybe feel scared of this, especially without the
Mm.
guidance of a coach, although just get the guidance of a coach. I think that we place so much meaning on emotions
Mm.
that, like, oh, this, I shouldn't be feeling this emotion, or I'm wrong for feeling this certain emotion. When in reality, emotions are just indicators of your direction. Like it's like a map. Like it doesn't actually really mean much until you put meaning on it, right? There is nothing wrong or bad about feeling sad and crying. But when I watch, my nephew, he's sad and crying, he's 5 years old, and his grandparents say, "You're fine, stop crying, you're fine." That's what all of us experienced. Feeling your emotions is wrong, don't feel them, right? And so we think that these are bad things. But if we can just recognize they're all just trying to tell us something, then we can go, oh, this anger or sadness or whatever that I'm feeling, cool. It sucks the way that I'm feeling right now, but it's not wrong. I can just go and
Yeah.
look at what is happening. Now, on that note, you have something that people can get in the description here called the
Mm.
negative mindset method, which is the best part of all of
Yeah.
this. So give us the elevator pitch, or give us the reason why someone should just take 1 second, scroll down a few centimeters on the screen and click get the free negative mindset method.
Yeah. Dear listener, if you have procrastination, imposter syndrome, burnout, frustration, self-sabotage, or any of the other things that seem to be side effects of every pharmaceutical commercial, you know, Or if you're hitting a revenue ceiling in your business, you don't know why you haven't solved this yet. You're having another $6,000 month and you just got to hit 12, any of those things, like this will surface your current obstacle immediately and give you a path to clear it.
Yes.
It's very simple. It's a couple quick steps. You can learn it, move it through, and be able to adapt it for yourself totally free. I just want you to solve your problems. We've all got people to impact. You've got people to impact that are waiting to pay you. And your emotions, blocks, beliefs are keeping you from you helping people and them paying you. So if you want that, and if you want to quiet that inner critic we talked about, get the Hulk to stop destroying so much stuff, click the button. Very simple process to walk through, and you can take that for free.
And one other thing, I'm on Rusty's email list. You're going to get regular, awesome emails that, you just get to read and take in the information. Like Rusty literally coaches in the emails. It's pretty awesome. So I just strongly encourage people, like, if you're experiencing any of those things, I wouldn't say it's easy to fix, but the next step for you to take, if all the other stuff hasn't been working, because that's probably why you're here, the next step is simple. And it might seem counterintuitive, but most of the time, the right step seems counterintuitive until you do it and it works. And then you're like, shit, wish I would have been doing that the whole time. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome,
That
man.
reminds me, does the public know the subtitle for your book yet?
We can tell them. Yeah.
Can we
Which,
tell them?
yeah. The subtitle for my book, which made Rusty cry. I
I
hope you
cried
don't mind
immediately
me.
when I heard
He
this. Yeah.
cried immediately when he heard this. So my book
What a
is
big
called
baby.
Consciouspreneur. That's the title of the book. And the subtitle, which is, exactly what we're talking about here, is what to do when the hard work stops working.
Mm.
Right. And Rusty and I, this is why Rusty feels this way and why this became the subtitle for my book, have both gone, why the fuck is the hard work not working anymore? I
Yeah.
was sold a bill of goods that if I just work hard, I will win. I will get what I want. And that worked for me before. Why isn't it working again? The reason it's not is because you're being asked to turn inward. You're being asked to look at what is going on inside of you in your subconscious brain. And one of the best people to help you look inward is Mr. Rusty Osborne. I'd like to think I'm in that list as well, but Rusty
Yeah,
Osborne
we'll
is
put you at second place. That's fine. So
podium. I got a podium finish. So
podium spot.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can just turn our attention to the book for a moment, one other thing
Yeah.
that made Rusty cry about the cover of my book. So two things on the
I've
cover
tried
of
twice
my
and I
book.
haven't even read this damn thing.
Two things on the cover of the book made Rusty cry. One of them was the subtitle. The second one was Rusty's quote is the quote on the front of my book. And I will read the quote here. Gavin's mindset coaching is used worldwide by seven-figure entrepreneurs for a reason. It works. Now, you and I have a lot of similar beliefs on this, so we do a lot of similar stuff. But if you could just, like, you have, again, sold for me, like you have, been the salesperson pitching me and my coaching. And, we've done a lot of work where I've coached you, you've coached me, and we've had a lot of great chats about this. What are some of the key pieces that you find that are probably similar to what you do that work really well that are found in the book?
Man. So first of all, I would highlight that Gavin has 7, 8, 9-figure clients, and he chose this quote to be on the front. So thank you. I'm deeply honored that you think somehow I'm smarter than them. I'm just kidding. But
Totally.
like,
That's
he
what it
has
is.
amazingly high level clients that use these specific tactics in the book in order to run their business better, bigger, faster, and impact more people.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things that I think you have given the audience of your clients, me, and the people that are going to get this book is you call it the vibe check. I love this so very much.
Yeah.
And so Literally, like it's basically what we were talking about during there. Can you pause and take a breath and see how you're feeling? And there's a few more steps to it, but at the end of the day, how often are we stuck in like execution, move faster, go, 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 go. I got to go, go, go. And if we forget to take a breath, we don't realize that we are executing on the wrong thing, using a silly strategy, and doing something stupid from our past traumas.
There's
Like,
actually not that much.
oh,
Yeah. There's actually not that much more to it. You're like, there's a few more steps. There isn't. What am I feeling?
okay.
And what is it trying to teach? Really, similar to
Yeah.
and I think this is where, the negative mindset method and a few of these other things that we both have, it needs to be quick and it needs to be simple because, so many entrepreneurs are just like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. So we need to be able to make these quick things for them. But this and all of our work relies on overthinking is really underfeeling. And if you're underfeeling, right, you're likely not actually you're not actually solving the right problem, right? As our friend and former mentor Xander Fryer says, you're putting a band-aid on a bullet wound.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, let's find the bullet wound and let's get to a triage. Okay. Because we need to actually solve that 10 out of 10 problem instead of going, it's fine. Move on. Keep thinking about things like Rusty. Rusty, I think you nailed it. Trying to think your way into a solution is using the exact same thought process that got you into this problem to try and get out of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. We have to find a different way.
Exactly. And I would also highlight, I've been just reading Richard Branson's, one of his books. He is an extremely intuitive business person who has made billions upon billions of dollars. He's not thinking super hard. He's like, oh, interesting. Oh, let's try it out. Right. He's trusting his gut. He's not overthinking, analyzing, trying, efforting, forcing. And if you think of the most successful entrepreneurs you've ever met or seen or heard of, yes, they're reading, they're gathering data, but they're not struggling to force their way through. They're like, oh, this way feels good. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And yes, they have some data to back it up, but they go off of that intuition, the quick decision, because they would rather fail forward fast and iterate and learn faster so they can make better gut decisions in the future.
Yeah. If you read between the lines on a lot of podcast interviews with a lot of really successful people, this is the exact shit they're talking about.
Yes.
It's the exact stuff they're doing. Like I have a part of the book on Arnold Schwarzenegger. And if you watch his Netflix documentary, there's a quote. I don't know who's saying it. They're like kind of in the background, I think. I just remember hearing this person say, Arnold has figured out the dance with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows how to dance with the universe. And this is a guy who went from small town Austria to being the fucking governor of California. Like it's insane. And having a net worth of $500 million from movies, basically. Right.
Yeah.
So like, and he dances with the universe. He like takes what the universe is telling him and makes decisions based on that. And so many people are watching these successful people and thinking, I need to do what they're doing, but they don't realize that what they're actually doing is, like you said, being super intuitive, listening to what the signals they're getting, feeling into things, and not overthinking and over trying and over struggling to get places.
Right. I'm gonna let's give one more example on this because I know a lot of our listeners probably know Alex Hormozi.
Yeah, I think they might know who that is.
Probably he's a pretty rad dude, I think.
Yeah.
And regardless of what you think, the guy has massive success.
Yeah.
He has crushed it, and he has crushed it recently. So if someone has done it recently, that's a great person to see, right? And model from. Something that he, after all of this work and thinking and everything that he's done, he says having a successful business boils down to two things: skills and beliefs. And then he just goes on to explain how to do the skills.
Right.
Guess what? Missing the beliefs. And I've seen videos of him. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, you need to dig into your past traumas, your inner child stuff. Like you need to do that. And then he moves on, right? It's just not where he spends his focus, because his focus is on the skills. Just beautiful. We need that. And there's another half of that equation that Alex Hormozi says is necessary. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So if you
Yeah.
need to move that, get Gavin's book, get my negative mindset method, and work the belief side of the equation.
And yeah, well, actually, you're going to get, if you want to, you can get a pre-sale for my book and get some more stuff. So if you want to get a bunch of free stuff, go on both and kind of use them all to get to where you want to go. But that's the thing, right? Like I've said, in the bullshit that business coaches say about mindset, right? Oh, you need to do this, and then I'm going to just ignore it completely, right? It's like, oh, well, if I need to do it, how do I do it? We kind of are able, I think, Rusty's really good at it. I like to think I'm good at it with the book and
He's
my
good at it.
coaching. Teaching you the how of this incredibly slippery concept, really. How do we do this? So, okay, let's wrap from here. Rusty, is that the best way that people can find you and learn more about you, is get on the list, learn about the negative mindset, click on the negative mindset method and get on the list? Is that the best way for them to communicate with you?
That is number one. You are also welcome to find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I exist at the Coach Rusty. Find me,
He's
message
better
me,
on
email
email.
me.
He's a great email guy.
Email is just my favorite spot. If you feel like, hey, I need help immediately, you can apply for a coaching call with me. I give a handful out for free every month. And so that's rustyosborne.com. And you can send in an application. We could work together immediately for free to move the biggest block out of the way.
And
so that's something that I also offer.
He's serious about that, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm not kidding. Yeah, I love giving, because the more that I give and make it easy and fun, then the more money I make. So that's fun.
So folks, don't sleep on that. Okay. Let's fill his coaching slots for the next month here, his free coaching slots just from this video. Okay, man. Anything else before we go? Any last words of wisdom before we jump off of this wonderful YouTube video?
All right, let's think. Let's do a quick recap. If you practice gratitude, you're putting lipstick on a pig. So doesn't solve a problem. If you're only listening to your coaches and not listening to yourself, you're going to fail. And you have shit. Let's work on it. Yes. And if I could give one more last thing, what would it be? Because I feel like there's something fun just sitting back here. I'm not going to overthink it. Where is it?
Feel it.
Feel it. You know what it is? I don't know why. I've been digging this artist called Tyler Childers. So if you're if you want to just go on Spotify, listen to some groove. I was a country musician for years, so that's my world. So go check out Tyler Childers. He's got some great music.
He's a mix of country and folk. It's solid. I like it a lot.
Good.
Cool, man. Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you, Gav. Everybody get Gavin's book, pre-sale. Click the button. Click the button. Click the button. I will sell.